So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here. I want to introduce my guests today, which are David Lisbona, who is in charge of the Nelly Foundation with Councillor Kujavsky, Pam Kujavsky, his sister, and Melissa Margles, who are all volunteers working on this very important project, which is ensuring that the shut-in seniors in our city and beyond, but particularly in Côte Saint-Luc, receive food. So how do you do this? What is the project about, David? Can you tell us how it got started and how you're getting these people their groceries?
Well, the project itself was spearheaded by one of your fine councillors, Mitch Kujavsky, who enlisted his sister, Pam, and then I'm not really sure how I got involved originally, but through a public foundation that I'm a part of, I believe I brought in Melissa to the group, and the Nelly Philanthropy Foundation became an integral part of the entire group. The foundation itself we basically call us the EMS of philanthropy, in the sense that we are first responders. So I don't think anyone predicted a pandemic, but this is precisely the type of thing that we get ourselves involved with. We have over 200 volunteers, and we just mobilize. We have no mission statement that restricts us to a denomination, a gender, a religion. We just go where the need is. And this project was one, our value add is that we partner with organizations, in this case, the city of Côte Saint-Luc, that's doing great things. We've also partnered, obviously, with Federation CJA, with Depot, with all of these organizations, and we try and enhance what they're doing and provide the support that they need.
Great. So Mitch, tell me, what were the needs in Côte Saint-Luc and how did this get started?
So we identified this very particular need in the city of Côte Saint-Luc because we have a couple of seniors' homes who are for autonomous seniors. So they're not homes that provide 3 meals a day. For example, the Waldorf or even Maimonides, which is more of a hospital environment. We have 2 homes in particular, plus St. Patrick's Square, so B'nai B'rith House and Chateau B'nai B'rith, that provide their seniors with only 1 meal per day. And the seniors are on their own or fend for themselves for breakfast and for dinner. At St. Patrick's Square, all 3 meals. So it's really just an apartment building for seniors. And as this got started, with the phone systems and online systems and even email systems of the local retailers kind of flooded, we kind of asked ourselves, or I asked myself, how are these people going to get food without having to eventually go out? So we had seniors in lockdown who were unable to get groceries. And we heard of people literally sneaking out of the back door of B'nai B'rith House and Chateau B'nai B'rith to go over to IGA, which is the absolute last thing we wanted. So we said, what can we do? So we approached IGA in the Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center. We've created a great relationship with the owner, Peter Lepari, and his son, Joe. And his wife works there as well. It's a family business. And we kind of took on their phone system. We said, we're going to be your phone system. We're going to give you a phone number for people to call. And it really is just a voicemail box for seniors to leave their name, their phone number, and their address. And our volunteers that Pam, Melissa coordinate, and David, our volunteers call them back and we take their grocery order. So we spend the time that was originally being spent by IGA staff that they just couldn't handle.
So Pam, tell me, how does that work? You get a message on the voicemail, you call them back, and then what happens next?
Yeah, so basically we have that phone number. They call and leave a message. And then so there's somebody named Leslie who goes and checks, a volunteer who goes and checks the voicemails 3 to 4 times a day. And she sends me a list of everyone who's called with their phone number. And then I have a list of 60 different phone volunteers, and I dispatch out the phone calls to call back and to, number one, make sure that they're a senior and they do in fact need our help. And number 2, that they haven't ordered within the last 2 weeks, because we're really trying to make sure that everyone is stocking up for 2 weeks at a time, and not calling every 3 days to get an order. And with the next thing, which is really, really important, is that we want to make sure that They do not have a child or a family member in Montreal that should be doing their grocery shopping for them, because our volunteers are going into the store and taking a risk to help the people that do not have help otherwise. So it's really isolated seniors who do not have help.
Right, that's excellent. And Melissa, so tell me, you're making some of these calls to the seniors, taking their orders?
No, I don't have, what I do is, I'm not one of the ones that actually is on the phone, but Pam had set up a great spreadsheet with all of the volunteers that had started coming and helping. And Pam asked if I would help her manage the volunteers. So based on what our need is for the week, on Friday evening, I will send out an email to all of our volunteers, and I will say, these are the days that we are packing and delivering the groceries. Please let me know when you're available. So then they send me back their availability, and then I plug them in, and that's how we know more or less what our capacity is to fill a particular number of orders on the days that we've allocated. We've been very lucky with volunteers who either come once, twice, to some that come every single time that we put out the call. And the truth is, without the volunteers, we would not be able to fulfill the number of orders that we do. So we're very grateful for the volunteers that come out and do this.
They actually come and they do the shopping, go from aisles
Yeah,
up to get
we do it. Sorry, we do it usually like in two segments. We'll go in, like, let's say we're going in this week on Thursday evening, we have the orders, and we fill all of the dry ingredients of the orders, all the non-perishable items. We leave the carts in one aisle in IGA, and then we have another group that comes in the next morning at 6:30 in the morning before the store opens. Also, our shopping the night before is also when the store is closed. So it's safe for the people who are shopping as well as for our volunteers. And then on the morning after, we fill in all of the non-perishables, the fruits and veggies, the refrigerated, the freezer stuff. And then we run it through the cash. Peter, the owner of IGA, has 2 to 4 cashiers come in early every morning. And I say 2 to 4, again, it depends on the number of orders. And they come in the morning and they work with us to pack the grocery orders, collate everything, pack it up and send it out.
Wow, no, it's really an amazing service that you're all doing. Really, you're heroes for the community. Does anybody have any particular interesting story that you have to share with an individual that you've taken an order from? Yeah, sure, Mitch.
I would like to mention one thing before we move on, is that we have a new thing, maybe David can speak to it, where we want to recognize a volunteer every week. You want to speak to that a little, David?
We introduced last week, for the first time, we introduced the COVID Covet Awards. So we had our first winner, our inaugural winner was Andrea Yampolsky, a Saint-Luc resident, who has been doing a phenomenal job. So this week, because we have so many great volunteers, we expanded it such that the 4 of us will choose one, and we were going to ask the volunteers tonight to choose the second one. We call it the Volunteer's Choice or People's Choice COVID Covet Award, because there are so many tremendous volunteers who have been a part of this effort, and we feel that we want to recognize them. So
do you have any stories to tell about any of the people that you serve? Sure.
So it's not a story about a person in particular, but it was a situation that really made me realize, I think, why we do what we do. There was basically a lady who was unhappy with the brand of a product that I gave her. And I was really sort of bothered by it at the beginning. And I really thought that what she maybe should have said was thank you. But what I actually realized in getting that phone call, and that I've thought about it subsequently, is that, as Mitch pointed out, many of these seniors are autonomous people. And for them to give up something that is so simple, going to the grocery store, that keeps them autonomous, is a huge thing. And so I try and remember that when, we're trying to pick groceries and it's not the right thing, and they specified this or they specified that. They've really reached out for the help. And I think that the fact that we can go and do what we do, we have to remember they've given up, or they've been forced to give up something in their life, that autonomy that kind of keeps them grounded and connected. And I think that kind of reminds me why we do what we do, and why when my alarm goes off sometimes at 5:15 in the morning and I'm going, oh my God, I cannot get up. But I get up and I do it because they can't do it for themselves. And I think that it isn't one particular story, but by and large, they are really grateful for what we do. I'm sure Mitch has heard it also from people that do deliveries. When they go and bring the orders, people are so grateful for the service that we're offering.
I find like I'm in contact every day with, at least 20 people who are making phone calls, and they're doing it because it makes them feel good. And it turns out a lot of times that the people that they're calling, they end up developing a relationship with, and they end up speaking to them every day or every second day, even when they don't need to place an order, because they want to check up on them, or they're just making sure they're okay, or they know they're lonely, they want to say hello. And I hear stories about people calling back the volunteers, thanking them so much for their help, asking, can I give you my order instead of calling the voicemail box? And there's one story in particular, like one of our callers, who is actually a good friend of mine. She ended up, becoming very friendly with this lady on the phone. She's 96 years old. It's actually her birthday today. She's turning 96. So my friend asked me, she said, this lady was so grateful and so nice that I would like to, just charge her groceries to me and include a cake for her birthday. So that's going to be on Friday. She's going to get this big surprise that the volunteer paid for her groceries to thank, just to make her feel good.
Nice.
It reminds me of something that just happened to me today. And this is what this whole pandemic is teaching us all, is that it's time. It's time now for us to connect with other people. And whether it's through our care calls, or whether it's through the food delivery service, or all the programmings we're doing online, or remembering to call your relatives and your friends that you haven't connected with, it's something that we're doing now more than we did in normal times.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I saw a post from a friend of mine in Toronto who was saying that his dad turned 100 yesterday. He's at the King David. So I said, could I have his phone number? And it's Henry Eigenbach. So happy birthday, Henry. 100 years yesterday. Called him. I mean, under normal times, I wouldn't have thought to call him. But I called him. We had a chat. And he was so happy that maybe we should send him a cake. I don't know if we could organize that. That would be my...
I have a phone number you can call.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that right after this this Zoom. But this is what we're all trying to do as human beings, to each other, and make people feel that they're important to the community, we're important to each other. And I think we're doing it more. We're doing it more now than we do in normal times. So maybe that's something we're learning.
Just our city program, the Hello Bonjour call that we have, we've added at least, I'd say 100 calls to that database. I mean, Parks and Recreation is calling hundreds of people a day on top of what we're doing, but we've added those names to their lists. So at this point, probably the majority of seniors in Saint-Luc are getting at least a daily phone call. They're probably getting sick of us, to be honest, but
they'll tell you if they are.
Exactly.
They a lot
Sorry, David.
from staff members and volunteers who are making those calls. Yeah, David?
Yeah, so I wanted to say another great story that just kind of happened, because the situation is so fluid. When, I think when we undertook this project, I don't think we expected the scope and the scale of it. And, we were kind of scrambling a little bit to find enough volunteers. So one of the things that we did, I have a connection having been the vice chair of Camp des Birth of Ottawa. So I'm very plugged into the Ottawa Jewish community. So they have a Jewish Ottawa Helps group on Facebook. So I put the SOS out there for callers for us, because obviously if you have a phone plan across the country, you can call from anywhere. So what ended up happening was, and I was amazed when Pam finally sent me the list of volunteers, because we wanted to start thanking them once the dust settled a little bit. And at the time there were 18 volunteers. So 18 from Ottawa. And I put the thank you on their Facebook group. And in the end, we now have about 25. Unfortunately, we don't have that many calls to make, but that's one of the areas where we have sufficient volunteers, and the program can certainly expand in that sense. It's just there may be some bottlenecks elsewhere.
Okay. Well, does anybody have anything else to add? So let me just thank you. You are all heroes for the city of Saint-Luc. I thank you for everything you do. You make the lives of each individual that you serve so much better, not only in the food that you give them, but in the connection that you're creating with these people that are our family. They're our Saint-Luc family. So thank you, and keep up your great work. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.